Mike Zimmer has drafted a lot of defensive backs. Some have panned out, some haven't. Some had better years than others. And we start looking at this group, kind of mixing and matching. Xavier Rhodes, you think about an Antoine Winfield, but he was near the end of his career. I mean, I remember watching Captain Munnerlyn, Terrence Newman. Boy, PA, start with you, and we'll just go around the table.
Well,
here.
it's Xavier Rhodes because of the amount of time he has played and as good as he was for as long as he was, for me, is a staple.
Picked off. Intercepted by Rhodes. Xavier Rhodes down the sideline, and goodbye. Touchdown, Vikings.
I'm going to do with Antoine what Kevin did with Steve Hutchinson, where Antoine was nearing the end of his career. But just when it comes to impacting the game and having a feel for the ball and making things happen, I take him over Trey Waynes and also over Terrence Newman. So I go Rhodes and Winfield. Harrison Smith, 4 interception touchdowns, a team record. That's a cinch. My other safety is going to be Anthony Harris.
Batted at the line of scrimmage, batted back and picked off. Can you believe this? Pick 6, Anthony Harris, pinball style.
And with Anthony, believe it or not, with 31 starts, 7 interceptions in 2019, and a touchdown at Seattle, he's the only safety with a defensive touchdown other than Harrison during the decade. Right. So now we're thinking about Sendejo and Blanton and a lot of names like that. You know, I think it's Harrison and Anthony.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. And Anthony's going to be, he's going to be paid, and he's going to be a big-time star in this league, Kevin.
He definitely is University of Virginia alma mater.
Well,
a little bit
that in there.
Yeah, a little bit. Not surprised to see him succeed. I'm surprised it took them that long to realize he could succeed. Anthony Harris, finally got a shot, and I think people around the league and a lot of neutral observers recognize him as being one of the top 2-3 safeties in the whole league this past year. I will say on Harrison Smith, we should not let it go by without saying that he's not only on this list, he's probably the best player of the decade for me. For the Vikings, when you just think about the idea that he was drafted in the beginning, he's been here this whole time, he's playing at an all-pro level. If you had to ask me who on this team is going to make the Hall of Fame, I would say the likeliest is probably Harrison Smith. A high-level, all-pro safety for a decade. A Hall of Fame player is someone who was one of the best players of his generation. I think if you look at safeties of this generation, Harrison Smith's on there. So we don't want to, we're not taking anybody down on this. We're just saying, in terms of the franchise and in terms of the decade and in terms of big picture, let's not let Harrison Smith go by without saying that.
And Harrison's got more years to go.
I'd say what Harrison Smith is he's the most versatile, one of the most versatile safeties in the league. He's not just a coverage guy. He's not just a in-the-box safety. He can blitz. He can cover. He can do all those different things, and when he makes an interception, he can turn that into offense. So I think that's what makes Harrison Smith unique among all the other safeties in the NFL, is he can do everything. A quarterback can't ignore him when he walks to the line of scrimmage, those kinds of things. Xavier Rhodes, I think he and Everson Griffin are the two people that have benefited from Zimmer being head coach more than anyone else, because I don't think either of them in their initial campaigns had great years. Xavier went on to be an all-pro. Is he been struggling? Has he been struggling? Yeah, but let's not forget the things that he's done.
Intercepted! Xavier Rhodes!
Anthony Harris would be my other safety. Andrew Sendejo has done a good job. You look at that decade, there was some, you had some stability with Sendejo, but Anthony Harris, I think, is a much more dynamic player. And then the other corner, I went with Terrence Newman.
Yeah.
I went with Terrence Newman. And the interesting point is when you look at the Terrence Newman and Antoine Winfield, with Xavier, 2 of those 3 corners were nickel corners. They were not necessarily guys on the outside. And I still think Terrence Newman, in his short time here, did more in the red zone for this team defensively than any other DB. He was so unbelievably good and smart in the red zone that without him, I think it would have changed the season a little bit.